What's up, everybody? It's Goddess Z, and I'm here with another podcast episode of Holistic and Spiritual AF. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new to this channel, be sure to hit that subscribe and that follow button, whatever platform you're listening on, because we talk about things that are good for the mind, body, spirit integration. We talk about holistic wellness, we talk about energy healing, ancestral connection, metaphysics, past lives, all sorts of amazing things that will help you to live inwardly, outwardly, okay? And if you're coming back, welcome back, fam. I appreciate you guys so much. You know, you've been sticking with me. The podcast is growing, and this podcast is getting better and better because of an audience like you, as well as the amazing guests that I have on this podcast, okay? So thank you so much for sticking it out with your girl, and be sure to make sure that you're sharing, liking, commenting, spread the love for anybody that you think would benefit from the content that we have on this podcast. And I'm telling you, we're almost about to go into recording the second half of this year, and it is going to be phenomenal. Like each season gets better and better. So be sure to share this out and stay connected to me, okay? This podcast can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. I always leave them out. YouTube, and pretty much anywhere that podcasts are being played. I'm syndicated out there now, okay? All sorts of amazing things have been happening in the holistic and spiritual AF community. If you want to check that out, make sure that you check out the description because I'm going to have all my contact information down there as well as how to reach my guests. And that way you can keep up with what's going on. There's so much stuff going on now. This is really a thriving community, and I'm just grateful as to what this has become, all from the guidance and the wisdom of my ancestors back in 2022. Okay, so definitely a part of, grateful that you guys are a part of it. And I'm going to go ahead and just jump into today's guest. Remember, I'm going to have his description, his information as well down in the description. So be sure to check that out so that you know where to find Gordon Allen. Gordon Allen is a life coach from the Wisdom Network. And I've actually had a few of the life coaches on this podcast in the past month or two from the Wisdom Network. So be sure to check them out. They've all had an amazing message and stories to share with us. And Gordon is no different, okay? Gordon is a spiritual life coach whose journey from prison to purpose is nothing short of a spiritual transformation. Gordon shares how he turned his trauma into transformation using tools like chakra healing, cord cutting, crystal work, and meditation to guide others, especially men, back to their divine selves. We talk shadow work, the sacredness of masculine healing, and what it really takes to break free from generational cycles when you come from the streets. This ain't surface level healing, y'all. We're going deep into what it means to reclaim your power and build a life rooted in discipline, divinity, and ancestral truth, okay? So as you can see, this is going to be a powerful episode, and I always find that anytime I had a brothers on the podcast, they always go in a different kind of divine masculine way, and Gordon is no different. So be sure to follow this podcast, share, like, comment, and make sure you listen all the way to the end. And without further ado, let's get into it. All right, all right. So thank you so much, Gordon, for agreeing to do this podcast episode with me. I'm super excited to have you. As we were talking about before, I don't get too many brothers on this podcast. I don't know why that is, because I know that y'all are out there doing the work too. So I'm really honored to have you coming from the Wisdom Network. You're a spiritual life coach over there. You are doing some amazing things with your clients. You're well versed in the cord cutting, chakra healing, meditation, crystal healing, and energy healing. And I love that because all of those things are a part of that mind, body, spirit integration I'm always talking about. So I've been on the walk for a while. Tell me about you. Tell me how this journey got started for you.
Okay, first, I would like to thank you for opening up your platform to me. Appreciate your energy. So my journey is how I was just talking with Monica about this last week. I kind of bumped into it. I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, South Los Angeles. Come from gang culture. Spent the mass majority of my 20s in prison. Right. So just living life, knowing that I wanted better and looking for better. I just like bumped into spirituality. I never, my family was very strict, religiously strict on both sides, Islam and Christianity. Uh, that never resonated with me, and I always had questions. So I always been curious. I always wanted to know more, and by me being curious and by me wanting to know more, you just like your energy just you become like a magnet to information, and then you fall into it. That's how it happened for me. Like I like bumped into it by accident.
I love that. I mean, that's a really interesting story. And that's actually really amazing. I love how for you it sounds like it was an inner calling.
Right.
You definitely had the structure of religiosity and two interesting ones, Islam and Christianity. I definitely had the Christianity side, but you made me think with that because I was like, that would be very interesting, like very, very like double edged, like whoa, like, and the fact that you, like you said, you were a seeker, and I like how you talked about when you're a seeker, then information just finds you. It's like we're magnetized to what it is that we're looking for. So I love that. So was it something like did you have fall into a class, or were you like online and you bumped into something, or how did that work?
Reading, reading, actually
Mm,
like reading. You're reading, and then like I say, I'm curious, so I read something and be like, how did that happen? And then it takes you down a rabbit hole. You just start going down these rabbit holes and these rabbit holes, and then eventually you get to be like, "Wait, hold up, something not right. I've been lied to. It's something bigger than what I've been seeing." And you start to get with yourself. You start to my my journey my journey happened for me getting with myself, like
mm.
asking myself questions, taking a look in the mirror. And like I say, knowing things are not right, and then you get with yourself, right? And when you get with yourself, like those shadows come up. And sometimes you may run from them. I'm always been a person that's like, what could you say? I like excitement. So I seen the shadows and I ran to them, and just more and more it just more and more information starts to come to you. Yeah. But
Absolutely. I love that. I love how you said you run to the shadows. You said you run into the shadow work, but that's where the deep healing and transformation actually happens. And yeah, so you're right about that. Most people try to, when it gets uncomfortable, they're like, I don't want to do this. But I like how it just seems like your spirit was ready. And reading definitely is one of those things that will open you up. And as you described, you just became more and more open. That's what I love about spirituality is the expansiveness of it, how big it is. Like it never is contained in a box, and so yeah, it sounds like your journey just really kind of was the way that the spiritual journey is supposed to be. It's supposed to be one that's individual, and it's supposed to be one that's experienced. And so you talked about that. I love that. So you did a lot of reading. And first and foremost, what was that transition like, coming from a life of being on the streets to being so internal? Like, I'm guessing you lost some people along the way, or did you take some people with you?
of course, you lose a lot of people, but actually, like I said, I come from gang culture, so it's a very strict culture, a
Mhm,
militant culture, right? And so you're used to discipline, and you're used to being like, what can I say, an outcast.
mm,
When you start to drift off into spirituality, you become like an outcast, especially with people close to you. But I'm comfortable with being outcast, so I'm not one of, some people struggle with how their families and their friends feel. I never dealt with that, so it was easy for me to be like, to draw a line and like, this what I'm doing. If you don't like it, so what? Like I tell my kids, like, if you're not hurting or harming no one, I don't you shouldn't care what no one thinks about you. So, and I'm comfortable with that stand. So yeah, you do lose people, uh but you find yourself. And the people that need to be with you, they'll stay with you. The people that need to go, they'll go. But you have to be comfortable with that. That's uh how can I say it? That's a very tough space for a lot of people when it's
mhm,
pick and choose family members, friends, what you're used to. what's common to you, what's comfortable with you. Like, because outside of people, you got to lose habits. You have to lose patterns of thinking. Like
Hmm.
sometimes that's harder. It's been harder for me to let go patterns of thinking than it is for to let go of people, because we've been programmed so tough and so hard and so like constant, consistent programming. So to let go of some of those patterns were way harder than to let go of people.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you said a lot right there. Definitely. Yeah, the behaviors, the actions, the changes of yourself. Once again, everything you described is not about the people changing outside of you. It's not about you changing the people. It's about as you're changing, your surroundings and the people around you are changing, your values, what's important to you is changing. And now you're teaching something to your children that is different, is different than maybe you grew up with, And so I love that, because that's all about breaking generational curses. That's about you doing the work first, you being and leading by example, and you teaching them something so that they don't have to actually, they got other tools and resources for life. Sometimes we don't get that depending on where we're coming from. And you just, this is the way it is. This is how we did it. This is how you going to do it. And you just really explored the magnitude and the magnificence of life. I love that. And I love how you talked about not being comfortable or being comfortable with losing some people and being by yourself. That is a tough one. That I've been on the walk for a while and it's been like that for me, but the people that I'm supposed to be around and the people that are supposed to be around me are there. And it's much more quality relationships. But sometimes there's that loneliness, that spiritual loneliness that we experience from being isolated. But that's the only way to really get that deep work done, because without that, you got other people thoughts in your mind and what they say you should do and their ideas and perspective. So I love that. And I love everybody's journey. I always ask that in the beginning, because even though everybody's story is so different, it all kind of comes back to the same thing where something inside of them was calling for more and they had to get with themselves. And I love that. And we may have teachers along the way and mentors and things like that, but the work is always done internally. So I
Exactly.
love that. So
Yeah.
tell me about um I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, you're good.
Okay, yeah, because I be on the roll sometime, and I you have to stop me, just butt in if you got to. I want to talk about meditation. I absolutely adore meditation, but what was your first experience with meditation, and what was that like for you?
Meditation. I really dislike meditation. Sit down. uh, I guess the way I was first introduced to to meditation in prison. Let's start there. So, and I was introduced to it from I would say a more scholarly aspect. So me trying to grasp like what are they talking about? Like I don't listen to myself. Like I was like, this is crazy, right? I can't do all this. This is too much. Sit down, you're gonna hear something. But one time I was listening to a guy talk, and this is how I got good with meditating. He said make a playlist. He like everybody tell you don't listen to music. He said fine, I don't care what type of music it is, make a playlist. Imagine yourself being in concert with that artist. It's just you, and that artist is talking to you to get to a zone. So that's how I started meditating with music, with rap music at that.
Mhm.
Like my first few months, I used music to get to a particular zone. So when I was able to let go of the music, then I started learning more, bringing like words of power into my meditation, visualization techniques into my meditation. But for me now, and I tell people this all the time, meditation for me is like playing offense and defense at the same time. Uh, I get the offensive portion of it is me. I get to pour into myself. I get to I get to listen to myself. I get to feel myself. I think a lot in society, or if you have, especially if you have a family, like you wake up and you get up and you go to work, and your phone is ringing. So all that taken from us. They might not literally taking nothing from us aggressively, but we're getting phone calls. Someone needs this. Someone needs that. right? And so meditation is a time for me personally to pour back in myself. That's when I say it's offensive. And then defense is the time for me to protect myself, to create a particular the energy I want, the vibrations that I want. And so I can attract what I need. So did I answer your question?
Yeah, that was great, and I love that because I like how you talked about the twofold of meditation. You said a lot of great things. You talked about how for you it was rap music.
Hmm.
It's very important, I think, that we come up with practices and rituals that suit us, for us to be able to have that experience. And somebody may be listening to that and they're like, oh, okay, I can do that. Like I can get with that, but as long as it's that, spa music, they may not be able to quiet their mind and thoughts enough yet for that. And I like how you talked about you needed to do that until you got to a certain zone. And then when you got to a certain zone, then you were able to now start incorporating some other things like visualizations, affirmations, words of power, and just kind of really making it your own practice. So I love that. And I love how you talked about not just the aspect of, yeah, we got to pour in our cup and we got to restore and replenish and spend time with ourselves, but also to be able to expand that practice outwardly into manifestation in our world. And so, yeah, that was deep. That was a real dope explanation because you really took that to a different perspective based on your experience. And I think that needs to be heard because we see the Om sitting meditation. I'm big on movement meditation too. I tell people all the time because I'll hear people say, like, oh, I can't sit still like that, and I get that. If your mind is like, going a million miles an hour, you may need to be doing some movement meditation like Qigong or something where you got to focus on breathing, slight movement, and focus, holding your body. And all of a sudden, your right brain and left brain is confused and you've done zonked into this trance kind of like state. So I like that. I like it a lot. And I think it needs to be heard. So yeah, thank you for that. That sounds like that was a really good experience, and now you love meditating, right? I'm sure.
And that's I think that's one of the most that that and cord cutting will probably be the most two beneficial things for me, especially at the start of my journey. But just to touch on something you were saying, yes, we need to learn. We do need to learn how to individualize our spirituality and what works.
Mhm,
Right, we live in a different society, a different time. We have different we had different issues to deal with that they probably didn't have 100 years ago. So we do need to be. A lot of times I see, and there's no knock to anyone, but a lot of times I see systems that are very stern and strict, and it's kind of like a great example. So me, I spent like maybe close to 13 years in prison, all my 20s. So that's a structured environment, and
mhm,
you can do all this reading and meditate, working out and everything, but it's a structured environment. Once you're released back into society, everything that you were doing in that structured environment becomes a lot different because now you're getting hit with bills, relationships, work, and you need to learn. You need to know how to navigate in that space because in the structured environment is one way, and when you're out in society, it's another way. So
mhm.
people should get very comfortable and feel comfortable with individualizing their practices, their techniques to do what works for them best. If it's working, do it. Like it's sky's the limit. Whatever you can think, whatever you can imagine, like we can do it. It's just you doing the work and not
Yep.
locked in.
I love that. And I love everything about your story because what I sense is I'm like, wow, you can help a whole demographic of people that didn't know that this was possible, that they would be more receptive to your message,
Right.
based on. I think that's amazing, and I would love to see that. I would love to see that. But the fact that you had access to it in there is also comforting to know that you had something, to practice and something to help you pass the time, and you could have very easily taken a different approach to how you spent your time in there, but instead you worked on and bettering yourself, from the inside out. And so I love that. That's very commendable. Yay, I love it. So you talked about cord cutting. You talked about meditation a little bit. Talk to me about cord cutting and what it means for you and how you use that for your clients.
So what it means for me, I go back, like, say, I'm 40 some years old. We have 40, so a lot of us have 40 some, 30 some years of programming, of wiring attached to us, right? I'm very big on going to war with yourself. But we also have to be like realistic and understand that a lot of these programming and wiring, that was a form of war against our greater self. So I'm very stern on, like, you need to be on yourself, kind of like 40 some years. You meditate for 5 minutes every day and think everything is going to be all right. No, you have like some cords to cut. You have some energetic patterns to let go of, some thought forms to let go of. So to me, cord cutting is very, very, very essential, part of a growth in this spirituality. So how I use it with my clients though is I go back to a lot of things that affect them a certain way, that they hold like deep emotional ties to, and we deal with those hard things that are, so, because sometimes we don't want to let stuff go, because sometimes pain is, it's easier to be in pain. How can I say it? It's safer.
It's
It's
comfortable.
comfortable to be in pain, and you don't
Mhm.
have to fight. So like telling you about a relationship where a girl did me bad when I was 18, and I'd be so stuck on that, like, this, bro, that was 20 some years ago. Why? But we get comfortable, and we can make all these excuses and blame everything outside of us. And that one thing right there, a lot of the energetic cores that we have and patterns that we have, uh we use those to blame and use as an excuse for why we where we're at today. So that's one thing that I do promote heavily with my clients, is cutting cords, taking your individual sovereignty back, and taking responsibility. Like, that's a part of taking responsibility of your life. Like, no one else is responsible for our growth, for our betterment, for our greatness. This your responsibility only, and you have to start with letting go of some things.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, that was powerful, and it's so true. And I like how you broke that down and even expanded it out to, hey, it's more than just cutting cords and then just walking off like I feel better. It's like we have a responsibility to show up in our lives as that expression of divinity. If I'm calling myself a goddess and you calling yourself a god, then there's that work to do to
Hmm.
uh be attaining to be that expression, and that's what it is for me. People are like, oh, I've been goddess Z forever, but that's responsibility. That's what I tell people. I'm like, me being goddess and putting that coin out there publicly, that's responsibility for myself. That means that every day I am attaining to be an expression of divine source energy, and that requires work. Some days are better than others, and I love how you talked about being responsible. It's nobody else's fault. We're not blaming people. We're not trauma bonding anymore. We cutting them cords and we doing the work that's necessary. Once again, inside of ourselves, we got to start reaching out for everything and reaching up for everything we need to be connecting with. And I love that. I don't think I've ever heard anybody quite describe cord cutting like that. And so I think that's powerful work that you're doing, because that's a power in itself. Like you said, you're taking your power back. Somebody else had it, now you're cutting it, and now it's not their excuse anymore. We're not blaming them. Now what am I gonna do?
What am I gonna do? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
because I refer to myself as a god, right? And I have another Instagram for my workout channel. It's called I'm a God in the Gym. But I tell people all the time, like, when you say you a god, the universe gonna test your gangster. It's gonna
Hmm.
You gonna stand on that. Like, no breaking down
Yep.
corners. You gotta take full responsibility of claiming that, of manifesting that particular energy. You gonna be tested, and you have to take full responsibility of everything. But it's cool. It's dope. It's tough sometimes, but I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I want to be in, yeah, I don't want to blame anybody. I don't want to give anybody that power. I know better today. So if something happens that I need to learn the lesson from, it's on me. I'm
Hmm.
not going to be like, oh, this person did this to me, or I'll check myself in a heartbeat if I say, oh, that shit is, it's like you let that happen. You allowed that to happen. Like, and of course, I got my ancestors and spirit guides. They not finna let me get away with that. They like, no, no, it's not nobody else's fault. You know good and well you didn't have to do XYZ, boom, boom, boom. They gonna lay it out. So I know better, but I love it. But so many people don't recognize that with that knowledge of self. That's another form of knowledge of self when you know who you are on a spirit level, having a human experience. It's such an empowering experience walking the earth. It's no longer just trying to be a chameleon, fit into society, cultures, norms, but it's actually walking this planet as the spirit, having the human experience. And that definitely takes some work, some meditation, some finding out what works for you, some cutting cords, some changing thoughts and behaviors, and a lot of that's basically shadow work. And so you say you run to it. You say you run to it.
A lot of times when a lot of times when people talk about shadow work, we talk about the not so good characteristics that we have to deal with. But like what I seen too is, especially when you cut them cords and you get to find yourself in those shadows, you also start to see those. It's some good shadows in there too that are hiding because we never been ourselves, and you start to find
Yes.
those other shadows that's they just they're dormant because you've been somebody else, or you've been this person you was programmed to be. And then when you're doing that shadow work, you're gonna find some good shadows too. You're gonna find yourself. You're gonna find that great.
Mhm.
Oh, that there you go right there, or that shit
Yep.
corner. But we
I
gotta
love that. Yeah, I'm glad you talked about that. I talk about that all the time. Shadow work is a lot about integrating, and balancing certain things. But I know with me, I've gone down the healing path and pulled out uh old talents. Like I started writing again, I think about 2 years ago, and I thought to myself, I had done a lot of deep healing around that time. And I said, I used to love to do that. I used to write poetry. Like, why did I ever stop doing that? And it's like you said, just coming back to the true nature of who I am. So certain things get blocked out, certain things get snuffed out, we're distracted by life. But yeah, I like how you talked about that. Yeah, it's about integrating certain things. If I think about something like maybe the energy of anger, and if I'm somebody who gets angry all the time, I'm an Aries, so in my 20s I definitely was a hothead, like all the time, like all the time. And I like how you said you 40 something. I'm gonna say that too. I'm 40 something, y'all. Like we just go, I'm gonna be 40 something forever. So yeah, but that anger energy is also creative energy. It's also good manifestative energy. So if I learn how to when and where and how it's time to release that energy, then the shadow work is being used for good, versus cussing somebody out and reacting versus responding. So but I got to know these things about myself before I'm able to start working on things. So, like you said, you run to it. It's not something to be afraid of. You run to it as if it's a mission to find out and go deeper into self.
find itself because it's like a video game. Uh,
Yeah,
uh, this was, I think it was Super Mario when I was young, but each each level you win, you get to a higher level. So like it's the same thing with the spirituality. One roadblock we get over, one shadow we get past, one cord we cut, we're to the next level, and it's about the constant evolution of just getting better and better and getting to the levels. You're not going to win the game in one day, so you just have to work and advance.
I love it. Yep, absolutely right. Yeah, and my listeners listening to this, they know because all of y'all get on there and say the same thing. We all say the same thing. You got to do the work. Like there's no way around it. Like if you want to keep elevating and keep transforming, it's built that way. Okay, these ain't our rules; these the universe rules. And we came back here to kind of be reminded of who we are, what we doing here. We're not on vacation. That's what my ancestors used to say. Hey, vacation over, get to work. Like it's time to get to work. You down here enjoying all of the human luxuries. It's time to remember who you are and start tapping into that spirit self. So I love it. And most of the times this starts with meditation, you
Uh,
know and with you, I'm going to go back to that where you talked about how you started meditation. Most people would think that they got to go to some sort of a class first. Well, now we got YouTube and everything else, so you can hop on and do a meditation. But I think once you set the intention and you are trying and seeking for something more, you can create a meditation ritual out of anything. I say that all the time. Your ritual gonna be yours, it's yours. And so it starts with meditation, and all of a sudden you're allowing these energy centers and these portals to open up within yourself to remember, hey, it's like turning on light switches in a dark room, just walking through, turning on switches. So yeah, I love it. And then the cord cutting, you do a deep form of cord cutting, which is very, very powerful. And of course, that's going to be tied into energy healing. So talk to me about, because it's all just flowing together now at this point. So tell me about energy healing for you.
so what I mean by energy healing is I like to work with chakras. Uh, so lately I came across I would get to, but I work with crystals. So in my studies and just working with working with crystals, I started using crystals to do energy healing, like actual physical energy healing, right? And so just me studying and understanding the chakras and then the human anatomy and the endocrine system, I figured out that the endocrine system and the shock is seven endocrine system is seven chakras, and most illnesses are, you can see which system they fall in place with the chakras. So when I do healing, I try to, I don't say, I'm not gonna say I try. When I do healing, I try to figure out where what energy sources it coming from. Is it coming from the crown chakra or the throat
Mhm.
chakra? And then I focus on healing that area, that particular chakra, pulling out what I need to pull out, however I choose to put. Sometimes I use crystals. Uh, Sometimes I just use energy, and then replacing those particular energy signatures or chakras back with the proper energy that they're needed to function. Uh, Also with the energy healing, I, I dive into dealing with different timelines and like healing, like how can I say it? What's a good way to say it? Like taking out particular roadblocks in your timeline, healing you before how can I say it? It's on the tip of my tongue.
So kind of like working with past lives.
It's past lives in the future. So if I can get in your timeline, I can see what's going on
Mhm.
before it happens. So let's get them roadblocks out the way. Let's blow those roadblocks out the way. Let's create a different road, a more smoother road. Yeah. So I do. I work a lot with the energy, a lot.
That's deep. You doing some deep stuff, brother. You doing some deep. I told y'all the brothers doing the work too. And then a lot of times that's how it is too. I don't have that many brothers on the podcast, but when they do come on, they blow our mind. And I'm like, where are you? Where have y'all been? Like, not saying the sisters ain't doing the work, but we're always out there, you know what I'm saying, doing the work. So it's always good to get that divine masculine perspective too. But I like the fact that you really just went deep and all over. You just like went all over the spectrum of energy in about 10, 15 seconds, because it's very important, to talk about the mind, body, spirit integration. Chakras are very, very important, obviously. But when you went into the endocrine system, that's also like meridians, acupressure points on a whole nother level that starts tapping into DNA. And like you said, now you're able to get into metaphysically into past and future. But not everybody can see that. That's not everybody's gift. So that's pretty awesome that you could do that, because I hear a lot about past life regression, which is powerful, healing on a quantum level, but I don't hear too many people talk about the future of a person once they get into their timeline. So very, very interesting. I probably will chop it up with you a little bit later about that some more, because I'm kind of curious about that myself. So with that, I mean, like, how did that come about? Like, you got to give me a little bit of background. So did you get some schooling for that? Did you just tap into something during the class? What?
Get some schooling from that from Monica. Uh,
Okay.
but it was a progression of starting with the basics, the man
Hmm.
and uh, the chakra cleansings, the words of power, the affirmations. Like so, I started with the basics, and I stayed consistent with evolving. So now I'm like, it's things I might come across, and they just not me. Uh,
Right.
and I know and it's just something I feel. I know when it's just not for me. So when I'm coming across things and it's for me, and I get to doing the work, and I have mentors, I have spiritual mentors, whether it's Monica or Dominique. Uh, when I see something that I'm kind of good at, then I don't have a problem with asking questions. I don't have a problem with being a student. Like I'm a student first. So I seek knowledge. I want to know, and I want to know how to do it the right way. And so I don't have a problem with that. But that's how I came across it through class, through tech.
Okay.
But it wasn't. That's a few years before I got to that point. Like
Right.
uh, I think we have to be. I don't want to say realistic. I'm gonna say this. This is what I'm gonna say. At first, when we start receiving this knowledge, especially like I said, for me, we were programmed one way for so long. We try to take everything in at one time, and that's kind of overload. And then you find yourself trying to be this person or that person,
Hmm.
and that's not beneficial to you because we all authentically, like I'm authentically me, you're authentically you. Your power is in you being authentically you, and you knowing who you are authentically, and the same with me. So with this journey, when you have to get comfortable with being authentically you, and some things just might not be like I'm not good with tarot cards. That's not for me.
Hmm.
That's It's cool, but it's just not. I'm not. It's just not clicking for me at the time, and I'm cool with that. And so I work on my strengths.
Yes. Yep. And you're right about that because everybody's got their gifts, like, I've always landed on the healer side, just like some people are really well versed in astrology. I'm like you in tarot with that. I'm like like it ain't my thing. But I just know stuff. Like I just know they can explain it and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I know," but I can't articulate it the way they just did because they done studied the charts and they know where the planet. I just know I could tell you something about to happen and I could kind of tell you what's gonna happen. It's like the clear cognizant. And like you said, I'm okay with that, but when it comes to energy healing, that's my jam. That's kind of like what I jumped into or fell into, as you said. Um, Different path. I went to massage therapy school. It was right like a month after my husband transitioned and it just I fell right into it. It was like I had been doing this, like I said, a couple of lifetimes, and I just knew what to do, and immediately started working with different types of healing guides and spirit guides and stuff. So it allowed me to over time recognize that, hey, you've been a healer in many lives. You've got access to certain type of information when it comes to that, and that's just more where I gravitate to. But we all have these amazing gifts and abilities. And like you said, it doesn't happen overnight. But I think that is part of the journey. Like when everybody starts, you want to know more because just like, wait a minute, everything's a lie. Like, hold up, somebody left something out. So you looking at everything and it becomes information overload. And then you kind of go down the path that's specific to your unique journey and what you're ready for. You take a little bit of this and a little bit of that. You start applying this with that and then you expand as you grow spiritually. And of course, all of this requires actually using it and applying it. So that's another thing. People be like, social media got people all messed up out here. They be like, "Oh, I want to do that. I'm finna sign up with that." And me, I'm big on ancestry too, and so I'm grateful for them because they help to guide me tremendously, and they tell me in a heartbeat, "That's not for you. Just leave that alone. That's not." resonant with your lineage. Like you don't have no business over there. And so I know that some stuff may look cool and trendy, but I go by that internal compass that we develop, like you
Yes.
described.
When you
you
put in
know
gonna that compass, it's gonna it's hard for us to because we done it, but when you put in the work, the like you said, the massage therapy, it just fit right in with what you already had in you, and you just figured it out. Like, oh snap, I'm really gifted at this. Like,
yeah, I was
so
in class like showing everybody out there, and I wasn't even trying to. It was just like jump right in. But and then of course, like you got to talking about the endocrine system and the chakras and stuff like that, and that interconnectedness. Everything was kind of like a connection to another connection to another connection, and so that was pretty dope for me. And I'm grateful for that. I don't do that now. But still, it's like I said, it's always in me. It was what was necessary for my journey. So I love that. So you are definitely well versed in a lot of different things. You may have kind of answered this a little bit, but what are some misconceptions that you've heard about energy healing? Um,
okay, so I'm gonna say this, and it's not quite the answer to your question, but I because talking about men, right? So I
mhm.
want to say this, especially to men from my culture and from my background. One of my misconceptions was I thought spirituality was real feminine and real soft. So I was kind of like, that's not for me, right? So, and that's a big misconception. There's nothing
Mhm.
soft about it over here, right? Learn about feminine energy and how to work with it and how to deal with it and how to use it in yourself. But this is not soft. But that's one misconception that I had. Like I used to see people with the crystals and doing yoga. Man, I used to be like, oh, man, they weird. But there's nothing weird about this.
Not at all. You right. We got that divine masculine too. They got to show up in the way that they show up too. And so, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm glad you pulled that out.
that's one big misconception. Spirituality is what would be another uh that I hear witchcraft.
It's a good one.
Yeah. So it wow, how can I have this conversation? Because I hear it a lot, especially in our communities. They'll throw that word out, right? Because of religious programming and what.
Right.
And it gets into a history lesson on what is a witch, and get
Right.
beyond, let's get beyond the word and like is working with like if you're sick and your grandmother gave you some honey and lemon, she a witch. She's working with herbs. That lemon
Hmm.
possesses that it vibrates on a certain frequency. That's why it heals you, right? So that yeah, witchcraft. That's
Yeah, that's a big one. That's
yeah, that's
unfortunately. But yeah, so you say witchcraft and they just completely bolt out the door without doing any kind of research or investigation for themselves. And like you said, a lot of that is that programming. But really, when you think about it, even if you well, the English language is so messed up, for obvious reasons. But really, anybody that would be considered doing witchcraft is someone who is working with the natural
exactly
elements in the natural world. So, like that is if that is of divine source energy, of the earth, of the planet, like how in the world could that be
wrong.
like I know, like if you, but they like you said that programming, so you can't even get that out your mouth by the time somebody's already like, oh, I don't want to hear no more. I rebuke you in the name of you know who. So so,
So yeah,
so yes, yes, I'm glad you brought that one up.
yeah, like the spooky, the so-called spooky. That's a big misconception of the spookiness of behind what we're doing. Like it's not that like we're working with the earth. We're working with natural frequencies and vibrations. Nothing different than an electric car. Is that witchcraft?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Another, and I'm not gonna say a misconception, but I'm gonna say this: social media, YouTube, Instagram,
Mm.
TikTok.
That's the devil.
That's that's
That's the devil. See, y'all, that's that trickology used by technology. Now we can get real deep up in here now, get real metaphysical on them. There's your devil.
That's even though you talk about misconceptions, social media would lead to it and act. Uh, you cannot go watch a 5 minute video and think you can sell prosperity candles. I don't can't you can't you
Real talk.
can't go watch a hour long video and think you're a healer and think you know it all. So like, yeah, so social media is so beneficial, but then it's to the point to where it's too much information now.
Yeah.
Then you have to like you have to battle against that because you talk
Hmm.
to somebody and then they tell you about what somebody said on TikTok. It's like
Like I literally just did a video on that. And yes, I do use the platforms to push out the message. So, but I hear what you're saying because I see it all the time. But I literally did a video just saying, do the work. Like, just do the work. There's no cheat codes. There's no, you can't watch a YouTube video and become, you know, you know, heal all your karmic cycles, a lifetime of karmic cycles and tap into it's like I've been doing this, not to say that I'm any further along or better than anybody else, but I've been doing this now and on this journey consciously for 20 years. Okay. 20 years. And it wasn't even till about 3 years ago that I finally felt like, okay, now you could go out and teach something. Like, and my ancestors and spirit guides was like, okay, you know a little bit. And I remember being on a journey, being about 10 years in. And I wanted to so bad go out there and just do something. They was like, no, not yet. Not yet. The time is you're working on yourself. Certain things I could do, but I wasn't ready. It took me a long time, and I never gave up on the journey. I never quit. This is my life. I've been doing this my entire adult life now, and so I feel you on that because you'll see people just pop out of nowhere. And my favorite thing to watch is when they just shift into a whole nother purpose, like. Like 2 months later, they doing something completely different. I'm like, was this the purpose or not? Or are you still learning? Like, I don't know. So yes, gotta be watching out for them. I've found that most of the real ones, I can tell who's who is, they don't have a large following. They're really doing this work, not necessarily out there on social media. They're doing this work behind the scenes. They're holding classes, they're working with clients, and it's not about the fame and the clout. It's about the purpose and helping those who are ready. And what you actually get in that scenario is people who are legitimately wanting to change and wanting to be seekers. Those people gravitate, I feel, towards the ones who doing the work. The rest of them may have a lot of followers and maybe doing a lot of whatever they're doing, but how many people are actually sitting in classes and doing the work?
because I have conversations and I have conversations with different people, and that's the conversation. Well, I was listening to this person. She has 3 million followers, or he has 10 million. The conversation starts with this person has this many followers, and I'm like, oh wow, like, oh, this is gonna get
You're gonna
tough.
have to break that. You got some major programming to bust
Right.
through.
Followers have already made this person a authority, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
The god of their life, and you wonder that technology, boy, they got you with that. They like you over here talking about you the devil because you working with the herbs, and it's like, meanwhile, this is my god. Like, so, but like you said, you just recognize peep game on that, and then you have to, who you're working with and how to work with them. But yeah, that is something I see a lot of that. But I keep pushing my stuff out there. I always hear my ancestors saying, just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep
mm,
doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. And sure enough, as we shifted over into this, new world order that we're living in, um, more and more people are looking for the real. More and more people are like, I need something. I don't know what I need, but I'm looking for something for real. And those are the people I connect with most of the time behind the scenes of social media. Yeah. So yeah, thank you. Those were some good ones. You got a really deep, um, introspective perspective. I know that probably don't even go together, but like the way that you think is real outside the box and real thorough and real, it makes you think. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Because I don't know what I was expecting to hear from that, but honestly, I wasn't expecting you to hit those certain topics. So good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so we covered a lot of ground here. We unpacked a lot. We talked about cord cutting. We talked about how you incorporate the chakra healing with the past and future and the timelines. We talked about how your meditation began, which was really enlightening. And we talked about energy healing and how you combine those modalities. Now, you talked about crystal healing. Tell me a little bit more about that before we get out of here.
So my journey with crystals started about 6 years ago. I was looking for some incense, and I walked into a crystal store, and I
Oh,
just
you was on the path now.
yeah, right, and I seen a selenite spear, and I didn't know nothing about it. I just like it just looked it nice, right? So I was like, I want to buy it, right? And then after that, someone seen me with it and was like, "What you know about crystals?" And I was like, "Nothing. I just like the crystal." And they had a tiger's eye bracelet on, and I was like, that, and it was like it's a tiger. The name itself just locked me into crystals forever. Tiger eye,
Mhm.
tiger. So then I just went on my whole little like I'm low key a nerd, so I just went on my whole little like learning how crystals work. With energy, like some crystals are receptive, some are projective. How you use them? Which yeah, I went on a whole like deep dive into the energy of crystals, where they come from, how what minerals what minerals create this, what do those minerals do for us, like like what do like amethyst, one of the main crystals that a lot of people talk about. Amethyst possesses a lot of magnesium. That's a mineral that we need. So when you get to deeper into the crystal, the science of crystal, you'll see that a lot of these minerals and a lot of the processes that they are created in, we go through as humans, and just learning how to connect them and use them for healing, for chakra healing, for energetic healing, for physical, like copper, like athletes use copper to drain swelling and whatnot. But when you start to like really go down that path with the crystals, it gets real deep and real,
It does.
because uh, they're like a computer chip. They hold and possess knowledge, and they hold and possess attributes that can be expressed or that can be tapped into. And it's about finding like what's in those, in this particular piece of citrine. What is that computer chip saying? What energy does this piece of citrine hold, and how do I resonate with that energy? How do I get that energy to flow with me? Yes, the crystals is yeah. So that's my thing.
Yeah, see, I could tell you got passionate. You woke up on that. You know what? And I love it because the crystals are so magnificent. And I remember that was one of the first things that I got into. It was, yeah, meditation, yoga, crystals, then metaphysics.
Hmm.
Ironically, now coming back around full circle, that was absolutely no accident, but I was just amazed and fascinated with these little stones that was holding all this and storing all this information and this energy from that come from inside of the earth. I mean, that in itself is enough to make you be like, okay, wait a minute, what's going on here? I want to know more. And I love that. And like you said, I love how you talked about the computer chip and really connecting with them on a level to find out how they work, why they work, and really building that relationship with the crystals too. So yeah, crystals are powerful. They're dope. There's so many different uses. So thank you for your input on that. And thank you for your input on it all. You really bring an interesting perspective, a deep, well-rounded, knowledge of esoteric subjects and healing and spirituality. And you can tell that you are that, like you walk that, like we were talking about that God and goddess body. You embody this way of life. And so I really appreciate you coming on to the podcast. I know my guest did too. So tell us like the type of work that you are doing. I know you're connected to the Wisdom Network. Y'all doing some amazing stuff over there. Tell us the work that you do, how you help your clients, how we can find you, and all that good jazz.
Yes, I am. I'm a spiritual life coach, and you can find me you can find me at the Wisdom Network.net on Instagram, the Wisdom Network. You also can find my page. I am divinely chosen on Instagram. Like you were saying in the beginning, an energy healer. I work with crystal healing. I do cord cutting. Uh, what else? I'm going. My brain is getting froze, real. That's crazy. But yes, so I am a life coach. So how I work is I don't work with no one person the same. Everyone is uniquely different. With this person, I might use crystals. With this person, I might not use no tools at all. And before I go, I would like to say, uh, I just would like to tell the audience when you're starting your journey, for a moment, just don't worry about no tools. Whether it's the crystals, the tarot decks, the singing bowls, I look at all those things like power tools. And for a power tool to work correctly, the power source has to work correctly. And we're the power source. So if we're not working correctly, the crystals, the singing bowls, none of that is going to do anything for us. But getting back to what I was saying, I work with each individual with their individual problem or whatever they're going through individually. So one person I might work with might do somatic healing or or ancestral work with one person. The next person I might work with crystals. One person I might not work with no tools at all. It might just be them getting to know themselves. It all depends on the person and what's going on and what I'm feeling and what I'm receiving and where that person is in their particular growth in life.
Absolutely. True energy healing, the way that it was, way before we got all this stuff. So, y'all know what to do. Of course, I'm going to have his information down in the description so that you can find him, connect with him on the wisdomnetwork.net, on IG at I am divinely chosen. Once again, thank you so much, Gordon. It has been an honor to have you on this podcast. I know my guests loved you. And that's it, y'all. Until the next episode. Peace.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are so welcome.